The beggar had nothing until he found a dog that gave him everything. A true story of hope, redemption, and unconditional love. What would you do if you lost everything? Your home, your family, your dignity, everything except the clothes on your back and the empty space in your heart. For one man living on the streets, the answer came in the most unexpected form. A skinny, abandoned dog with sad eyes and a wagging tail. The rain hammered down on the concrete like bullets, creating rivers in the gutters and sending most people running for shelter. But Marcus Johnson had nowhere to run. He sat beneath a tattered cardboard box in an alley behind a Chinese restaurant, his thin jacket soaked through, his body shaking from the cold. This was his life now. 38 years old, homeless, forgotten by a world that had once known his name. Marcus hadn't always been homeless. 3 years ago, he'd had a job, an apartment, even a fiancée. But addiction had stolen it all. First the job, when he showed up late one too many times, then the apartment, when the rent went unpaid. Finally, his fiancée left, taking with her the last thread of connection he had to his former life. He had tried to get clean, tried to pull himself together, but the streets had a way of pulling you down faster than you could climb back up. On that cold November evening, Marcus was at his lowest point. He hadn't eaten in 2 days, his shoes had holes that let in the rain. He'd lost so much weight that his face looked skeletal, hollow. Other homeless people avoided him because he looked too far gone, too close to giving up entirely. And maybe he was. That's when he heard it. A soft whimpering coming from deeper in the alley. At first, Marcus ignored it. He had enough problems without taking on anyone else's. But the sound continued, weak and desperate, cutting through the noise of the rain. Against his better judgment, Marcus pushed himself to his feet, his joints protesting, and walked toward the sound. Behind a dumpster, shivering and soaked to the bone, sat a dog. It wasn't a beautiful dog, not the kind you'd see in magazines or on Instagram. It was small and skinny, with matted brown fur and one ear that stood up while the other flopped down. Its ribs showed through its sides, and its eyes, those dark, soulful eyes, looked up at Marcus with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "Hey there," Marcus whispered, kneeling down slowly so he wouldn't scare the animal. "You're in pretty bad shape, huh?" The dog's tail gave a tentative wag. Marcus looked at the dog, and the dog looked back at him, and in that moment, something shifted in Marcus's chest. Here was another creature who had nothing, who had been abandoned, who was fighting just to survive another day. Here was someone who understood exactly what he was going through. "We're quite a pair, aren't we?" Marcus said softly. He reached out his hand, letting the dog sniff it. After a moment, the dog moved closer, pressing its wet body against Marcus's leg. The warmth of that small body, the trust in that simple gesture, broke something open inside Marcus that had been locked tight for years. He couldn't explain it. He had no food to give this dog. He had no shelter, no resources, nothing to offer. But as he sat there in the rain with this abandoned animal pressed against him, Marcus made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "All right, I guess we're in this together now." He took off his jacket, his only jacket, and wrapped it around the dog. Then he picked up the small animal and held it close to his chest, feeling its heartbeat against his own. For the first time in months, Marcus felt something other than despair. He felt needed. He felt responsible for something other than his own survival. He named the dog Charlie. The turning point in your life might come from the most unexpected place. Sometimes salvation doesn't look like you imagined. It looks like a hungry dog in an alley. If this story is touching your heart, imagine how many others are out there right now, waiting for their moment of connection. Keep reading to discover how one simple act of compassion transformed everything. The first few days with Charlie were hard. Marcus had always heard that having a pet was expensive, and now he understood why. Charlie needed food, and that meant Marcus needed to find food for both of them. He couldn't just think about himself anymore. Marcus started doing something he'd been too proud to do before. He actively asked for help. "Excuse me, sir," he'd say to people passing by. "I'm not asking for myself, but my dog needs to eat. Could you spare anything?" The response amazed him. People who would have walked right past a homeless man stopped when they saw Charlie. They'd look at the little dog wrapped in Marcus's jacket, see the care and how Marcus held him, and something in their faces would soften. "That's a cute dog," a woman said one day, stopping with her shopping bags. "What's his name?" "Charlie," Marcus replied. "How long have you had him?" "Just a few days. Found him abandoned in an alley. We're kind of taking care of each other now." The woman smiled, really smiled, not the tight, uncomfortable smile Marcus usually got from strangers. She reached into her purse and pulled out a $20 bill. "Get him some dog food, and get yourself something too." That $20 was more than Marcus had held in his hands in weeks. He immediately went to a nearby convenience store and bought a small bag of dog food and 2 sandwiches, one for him and one for Charlie, although he later learned that dogs shouldn't eat sandwich meat, but Charlie seemed happy enough with it at the time. As the weeks passed, something incredible started happening. Charlie became Marcus's bridge back to humanity. People who would have averted their eyes from a homeless man stopped to pet the dog. They asked questions. They saw Marcus not as a faceless street person, but as someone who cared for this animal, who took responsibility, who had compassion even when he had nothing. An elderly man who walked by their corner every morning started bringing dog treats. A young couple bought Charlie a collar. A restaurant owner who'd previously chased Marcus away from her door started saving leftover food for both of them. But more than the material help, these small interactions reminded Marcus of who he used to be and who he could be again. Every time someone smiled at Charlie, every time they stopped to talk, Marcus felt a little more human. The invisible wall between him and the rest of society started to crack. Charlie did something else too. He gave Marcus a reason to get up in the morning. Before Charlie, Marcus would sometimes spend entire days in a fog of depression and hunger, barely moving. But now he had someone depending on him. Charlie needed walks. Charlie needed food. Charlie needed him. On mornings when the cold was so brutal that Marcus wanted to give up, Charlie would curl against him for warmth. And Marcus would think, "I have to keep going. He needs me."
It wasn't a one-way street either. Charlie protected Marcus too. One night, when a group of drunk men wandered into the alley looking for trouble, Charlie, all 20 pounds of him, stood in front of Marcus and barked with a ferocity that surprised everyone, including Marcus. The men laughed at first, but something about that little dog's courage made them think twice. They left. "Good boy," Marcus whispered, holding Charlie close. "Good boy." 3 months after finding Charlie, Marcus met someone who would change everything again. Her name was Sarah, and she ran a local homeless outreach program. She'd heard about Marcus and his dog from some of the regular people who passed by their corner. "I've been hearing about you two," Sarah said one afternoon, kneeling down to pet Charlie. "People say you take really good care of him." Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with the compliment. "I try. He's all I've got." "That's not true," Sarah said gently. "You've got yourself. And from what I can see, you're someone who takes responsibility, who cares about others, who doesn't give up even when things are hard. Those are valuable qualities, Marcus." It had been so long since anyone had said anything positive about him that Marcus felt tears prick at his eyes. Sarah told him about a new program her organization was starting, a transitional housing program that allowed pets. Most shelters didn't, which was one reason Marcus had avoided them. He wouldn't give up Charlie for anything. "I can get you into the program," Sarah said. "You'd have a room, access to job training, help getting clean. You wouldn't have to give up Charlie." Marcus felt hope and terror in equal measure. What if he failed again? What if he let everyone down, including Charlie? But when he looked down at the dog sitting loyally by his side, he thought about all the times Charlie had depended on him, trusted him, and he hadn't let him down. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he was stronger than he thought. "Okay," Marcus said quietly. "I'll try." Sometimes the hardest step is accepting help, but it's also the bravest. If you're inspired by Marcus's journey, consider this. There are programs in every community doing this kind of work, giving people second chances. At the end of this story, you'll find ways you can help make more stories like this possible. But first, let's see where Marcus and Charlie's journey leads. The transitional housing was nothing fancy. A small room with a bed, a chair, and a tiny bathroom down the hall that Marcus shared with 3 other residents. But to Marcus, it was a palace. It had a roof that didn't leak, walls that kept out the wind, and best of all, Charlie was allowed. The first night in that room, Marcus lay on the actual bed, a bed, with Charlie curled up beside him, and cried. They weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope. The program required Marcus to attend addiction counseling, job training workshops, and regular meetings with a case manager. It wasn't easy. Some days the cravings hit him so hard he thought he'd break. Some days, the shame of everything he had lost came crashing down and he wanted to run back to the streets. But every time he felt that way, Charlie was there. When Marcus came back from a particularly hard counseling session, Charlie would greet him at the door with his tail wagging like Marcus was the most important person in the world. When Marcus woke up from nightmares, Charlie would press his warm body close, as if to say, "I'm here, we're okay." 6 months into the program, Sarah helped Marcus get a job at a local animal shelter. "It's perfect for you. You're so good with Charlie, and they need someone who understands what it's like to struggle, who can care for animals that have been abandoned or abused." The job didn't pay much, but it was honest work. Marcus cleaned kennels, walked dogs, helped with feeding, and he discovered he had a gift for working with the difficult cases, the dogs that were aggressive or fearful, the ones that had been so badly treated that they didn't trust humans anymore. "You've got away with them," his supervisor said one day. "They respond to you." Marcus knew why. He understood them. He knew what it was like to be scared, to feel like the world had given up on you, to not know if you'd survive another day. When he approached a trembling, aggressive dog, he saw himself 3 years ago, and he showed them what Charlie had shown him, that compassion was possible, that someone could care, that there was hope. A year after moving into transitional housing, Marcus had saved enough money to rent a small apartment. It was tiny, barely big enough for a couch and a bed, but it was his. He had his own key, his own space, and Charlie had a proper home. The day they moved in, Marcus sat on the floor of the empty apartment with Charlie in his lap and thought about everything that had changed. A year ago, he was dying in an alley. Now he had a job, a home, and a future. And it all started with a dog. But Marcus didn't stop there. He started volunteering at a homeless outreach program on his days off, often bringing Charlie with him. He knew that his story, his presence, could give hope to people who thought they were beyond help. "If I can do it, you can too," he'd tell people living on the streets. "I know it doesn't feel possible right now. Trust me, I know, but I was where you are. Actually, I was worse off. And look at me now." Some people listened, some didn't. Marcus understood that too. You can't help someone who isn't ready to be helped. But the ones who were ready, the ones who were at their breaking point and just needed someone to believe in them, those were the ones Marcus could reach. 2 years after finding Charlie, Marcus got promoted to assistant manager at the animal shelter. He was making enough money to move to a better apartment, one with a small yard where Charlie could run around. He started taking classes at a community college, thinking maybe someday he'd become a certified animal behaviorist.
Life wasn't perfect. Marcus still went to counseling. He still had hard days. The memories of what he'd lost, the years he'd wasted, the people he'd hurt, those never completely went away. But now he had tools to deal with those feelings, and he had Charlie, always Charlie, reminding him of where he'd been and how far he'd come. 5 years after that rainy night in the alley, Marcus was invited to speak at a fundraiser for the homeless outreach program that had helped him. He almost said no. He wasn't comfortable with public speaking, didn't think anyone would want to hear his story. But Sarah convinced him. Your story matters, Marcus. You can help people understand that homelessness isn't about being lazy or making bad choices. It's about being human and struggling and needing help. You can help people see that. So Marcus stood on a small stage in front of 100 people, with Charlie sitting calmly at his feet, and told his story. He talked about losing everything, about the addiction and the shame and the nights when he thought he'd die on the streets. He talked about finding Charlie and how that one act of compassion, caring for an abandoned dog when he could barely care for himself, had saved his life. I didn't rescue Charlie, Marcus said, his voice steady. Charlie rescued me. He gave me a reason to keep going when I had none. He reminded me that I was capable of love and responsibility and hope. He was the bridge that led me back to humanity. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. After the speech, dozens of people came up to Marcus. Some shared their own stories of struggle. Some thanked him for his honesty. Some donated to the outreach program. One man, a business owner, offered Marcus a job doing community outreach for his company, helping to hire people who were transitioning out of homelessness. Marcus took the job, and he kept volunteering, and he kept telling his story to anyone who would listen. Today, Marcus is 38 years old again, but this time he's living instead of just surviving. He has a career he loves. He has friends. He has a community. He sponsors 2 homeless individuals through the outreach program, helping them the way Sarah helped him. And he has Charlie, now a little grayer around the muzzle, a little slower on walks, but still by his side every single day. People sometimes ask Marcus what his secret was. How did he turn his life around when so many others don't? How did he find the strength to keep going? Marcus always gives the same answer. I found someone who needed me more than I needed to give up, and that made all the difference. The power of one connection. Marcus and Charlie's story isn't unique in its beginning. Thousands of people are homeless right now, struggling with addiction, mental illness, or circumstances beyond their control. Thousands of animals are abandoned every day, left to fend for themselves on dangerous streets. What makes this story special is what happened when these 2 souls found each other. A connection was made, compassion won, and 2 lives were saved. The truth is, we all have the power to be that connection for someone else. You don't have to rescue someone from homelessness or adopt a stray dog, although both are wonderful if you can. But you can acknowledge someone's humanity. The next time you see a homeless person, don't look away. Make eye contact. Say hello. Recognize them as a human being. Support programs that work. Organizations that provide transitional housing, job training, and addiction services save lives. Your donation, even a small one, makes a difference. Volunteer your time. Homeless shelters, animal rescues, outreach programs, they all need volunteers. A few hours a month could change someone's life. Advocate for change. Support policies that address homelessness, mental health, and addiction treatment. Vote for leaders who prioritize these issues. Adopt, don't shop. If you're considering getting a pet, rescue one from a shelter. Give an animal like Charlie a second chance. Marcus's story proves that no one is beyond help, that one connection, one act of compassion, one person who sees your humanity can be the turning point. Charlie gave Marcus a reason to live. Marcus gave Charlie a home. Together, they created something beautiful from nothing. Right now, there's someone out there waiting for their Charlie. There's a dog in a shelter waiting for their Marcus. There's a connection waiting to be made that could save 2 lives. Will you be part of creating that connection? Visit your local homeless outreach program or animal shelter. Donate, volunteer, share stories like this one to help break down the stigma around homelessness and remind people that everyone deserves compassion. Marcus's journey from that alley to where he is today didn't happen overnight. It took years of hard work, countless small steps, setbacks, and comebacks. But it started with one moment of compassion, one decision to care for something other than his own pain. That's the lesson here. You don't need a grand plan to change a life. You just need to care. You just need to see another being suffering and decide to do something about it, no matter how small. Charlie was a scruffy, abandoned dog that most people would have walked past without a second glance. But to Marcus, he was everything. He was purpose. He was hope. He was love. And Marcus was a homeless man that most people did walk past without a second glance. But to Charlie, he was everything. He was safety. He was warmth. He was home. Together, they were complete. That's the magic of compassion. It doesn't require much, just an open heart and a willingness to connect, but the impact can be infinite. So here's your call to action. Don't let this story just be a story. Let it be a catalyst. Let it move you to action. Reach out to your local homeless services and ask how you can help. Visit an animal shelter this week. Sponsor someone's transition from the streets. Foster a rescue animal. Start a donation drive in your community. Or simply, the next time you see someone struggling, stop and see them. Really see them. Because somewhere out there right now, there's a Marcus sitting in an alley thinking he has nothing left to live for. And there's a Charlie shivering behind a dumpster, abandoned and alone. Your compassion could be the connection that saves them both. Marcus and Charlie are living proof that it's never too late for a second chance, that love and responsibility can heal even the deepest wounds, that sometimes when you have nothing left, you find everything. The beggar had nothing until he found a dog that gave him everything. What will your story be? This story is a reminder that hope exists in the darkest places and that salvation often comes from unexpected sources. Share this story. Let it inspire someone else. Let it be the beginning of change in your community. Because every Marcus deserves a Charlie, and every Charlie deserves a Marcus. And every one of us has the power to make that connection happen.